Mm-hmm. 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 Come on. Mm-hmm.
Welcome to this week's episode of Chuck Chat. Today I have Justin Wetherill.
Hey.
And last week we had John Morgan and talking about winning and how to get through today's market and strategies on winning and how you built your business. And when I say winning, with our business we talk about what made us successful. How did we get to a level of success? And a lot of people, everybody knows uBreakiFix because everybody breaks their iPhone or their Android, which is what you have. Android, right?
Yep.
And so tell a little bit about how do you start the company, first of all?
Just over 10 years ago, I broke my own iPhone. It was an iPhone 3G. I was walking, bumped into somebody, fell right on its face, picked it up, it was cracked, went to the Apple store, they wanted $199 to fix it. At the time, phones were heavily subsidized by carriers. I paid $199 for that phone. And I was like, this doesn't make any sense. There's got to be a better way. Ironically, I had two really good friends that I was close to and spoke to business ideas and things about. I called David Reif. I said, should I try to fix my own phone? He's like, no way. I called another friend, Eddie Trujillo. I said, should I try to fix my phone? He's like, absolutely. So I ordered the parts on eBay for like 25 bucks, went at it myself, and broke my phone even worse. And then, kind of, rather than being discouraged, obviously I was bummed about not having a phone. But I realized in that moment that if, kind of being a nerd myself, if I was having that problem, there were likely a lot of others who were as well. So I doubled down, bought a bunch of broken phones on eBay, and we got to fixing.
And so, how many phones did it take before you learned how to get it right?
It was like 2 or 3, messed up with 2 or 3. And, there were no instruction manuals, no guides, no nothing. It was trial and error 100% of the way, yeah.
And how do you know what tools to buy to do it? Did they sell certain tools on the internet that you could buy to fix a phone?
Yeah, it was like, back then things were a lot simpler. It was all just really small Phillips head screwdrivers. A lot of the repair kits came with the right tools you needed to repair it. But that was definitely one of the things that evolved, a lot over time. Both on the OEM side and in our store side, is developing and those tools to make the job.
Did you actually develop tools?
Yeah, we've developed tools. We've got access to some OEM tools. The tooling and systems and process side of what we do today compared to what we did in my bedroom 10 years ago is night and day.
So you fixed the first couple phones in your bedroom, and did the bell go off going, wow, I can make a business out of this?
Yeah, so I bought broken phones on eBay, fixed them, and then resold them. Made a pretty decent profit. And then rather than continuing on that path, we just started an auction on eBay that for $79.99 you could mail in your phone and we would fix it. So the parts were less than 20 bucks. I took all the profit from those phones we sold, bought parts, like literally just ran up my credit card, paid it down, ran up my credit card, paid it down. And people were mailing in their phones from all over the country, California, New York, you name it.
How many did you get a day in the mail in the beginning?
We were seeing like 8 to 10 a day. Like it was,
Wow.
It was kind of nuts, and enough to where just maybe a month or two into it, I had a full-time job at Aon Hewitt as a database analyst, and I would come home and fix phones at night, and then wake up. So on the way home, I'd go to the UPS store, I'd pick up the packages, I'd go home, I'd fix them. On the way to work, I'd drop them back off at the UPS store, kind of rinse and repeat every day.
And how do you get paid for doing that?
It was all on eBay, so everybody was paying $79.99.
So just go into your bank account?
Yep. And, really quickly into it, had to hire our first employee, Carlos Marmo, who you know from the Dr. Phillips store over here. He was my
your first one?
Yeah. He was my roommate at the time, was about to move back to South Florida. because he couldn't find a job. And I was like, hey, you want a job fixing phones? So he worked out of my bedroom for the first couple months of uBIF and fixed phones to help with the excess.
Were you living at home then?
We were rented a house just outside of UCF. Like there were 5 of us in one house.
Oh, wow. And so did all 5 of you start fixing phones?
4 out of the 5 of us were all actively involved in uBIF to this day, yeah.
And then what happened next?
What happened next was, so Carlos had said he was moving out, so we went and found a smaller house for the 4 of us. Actually for 3 of us, because another guy was moving out too. So we rented a 3-bedroom house, and then Carlos decided he was staying. So 4 of us moved into a 3-2. Carlos lived in our dining room and fixed phones in the living room. And we grew it. So, David Reif started building a website. Carlos was fixing phones for people on Craigslist, like at Panera. I was fixing phones on my lunch breaks.
How many months were you into it at this point?
Just like 3 months.
And how many phones were you getting a day now at 3 months?
Not substantially. It was like, 10 to 15, not substantially more. So we're growing it. Everything's going good. And then Eddie Trujillo, who I called way back when, I go on a family vacation, and Eddie shows up at my house and sees like phones everywhere. And like the last time we talked about it, I was like, should I fix my phone? And he's like, yes. And then the next time we talked about it, he shows up at my house and there's phones everywhere. And he's like, what's going on, Carlos? He literally hung out with Carlos like every day that week and took a strong interest in it. And it was Eddie who said like, people are mailing in their phones, but like people aren't going to want to wait. You need a store. They're not going to want to wait to mail in their phones and get them back. And he was really the visionary behind the transition to retail. And he was so confident in that vision that he put up all the money to open that first store. So we started, right around the beginning of 2009, and by September we were open and operating in our first store.
And how many phones were you doing the first month, and then after like 12 months in the first store?
So by this time the website was doing, about $30,000 a month in sales, which you could figure is about 30 phones a day, for easy math. And the store that we leased was on Curry Ford and Goldenrod.
You
It was
still have it?
$800 a month. It was not by any means like a true retail location. It was anchored by a dentist office, 3-bay little center. The second month that store was open, it eclipsed the sales of the website that served the whole country.
Wow.
People were driving from Tampa, people were driving from Daytona, people were driving from all over the place because they
There's
didn't
just
want to
nothing
wait.
else.
They didn't want to wait. It was, by this time the phone, like, you think of your old phone, you're like, oh, well, you text, you call. If you don't have to text people, you don't have to call, like, it's okay for a while. But phones were taking the place of your digital cameras, your TomToms, your like, internet browsing was just starting on your phone.
This is 2009.
Yeah, this was 2009.
And going back though for a minute, when you broke your first phone and you tried to fix it and you made it worse, how long were you without a phone?
Oh, like a day.
Oh, it's just a day.
Yeah.
That's an eternity.
Yeah.
If I told my daughter I was taking her phone away for an hour, it would be the worst punishment on the face of the earth. And so you open that store. You're still within the first year of starting this whole thing.
Yeah.
So you're within 12 months. And how long till you had like 3 or 4 stores open?
So the first store came in September, and then I moved to South Florida, actually moved in with my grandma. We're from Pembroke Pines. Opened up the second store in December in Pembroke Pines. And then it was like, so now we're in, that was December 2009. So now we're in 2010. We opened the Boca store in February, the Miami store in March, the Atlanta store in like May or June.
So you were just knocking them out.
We went from 1 store to I think 13 stores by the end of 2010.
So in 1 year you had 13 stores open. And how many months was that from the first time you sat down and said, I'm going to fix an iPhone?
So that would be about 2 years.
2 years you had 13 stores open. Wow, that's great. How did you get the capital to open the 13 stores?
The business
You just kept
cash flowed
recycling.
enough, and we just invested.
See, I tell people that all the time. Save the money you make. Reinvest it in your business. So many people, if you took your money and you went out and just spent it buying this and buying that and going on vacation, you wouldn't have been able to build your business.
Yeah.
You just essentially kept filling the pot up and taking money out of the pot to reinvest, so the pot kept getting bigger.
Oh, I think my generation's the the worst with that. Everybody thinks what they see on Instagram is real. Like it couldn't be further from the truth. There aren't people rapidly growing businesses and living, the rich kids of Instagram lifestyle. Like those two things don't exist. Either you came from money and that has been your lifestyle, or you've grown your business to a point to support that. But there is no business that's like growing at its full potential and you're living that way. You got to make a decision.
I know. I see it all the time. These kids kids, young people are on Instagram and they're driving around the Lamborghinis or the BMWs, and that's all they have, and they're a deep payment into having that. And it's like when I grew up, I did that in the beginning. Like when I started my business, I wanted to go out and buy some toys. And then I realized that toys were constraining me and stopping me from growing. So then I just got settled in a car, and I just kept reinvesting, and that's how you get to the top. There's steps. It's like a ladder. It's like a staircase. You just keep climbing up and up and up. And you went from at the end of your second year having 13 stores to today you have how many stores?
580.
580 stores. And how many will you open? And I know it's COVID, but how many will you open over the next 12 months?
Just over 200.
Wow, I mean, that's just exponential growth. And then you've got the trucks now too you're doing, which is even better. It's like someone like me. I'm sitting in my office. I don't have time to even run next door to see Carlos because I'm swamped all the time. So I can take my iPhone out of my pocket, and your guys can drive up. I can hand it to them at the door. They'll go downstairs, they'll fix it, and they'll bring it back up.
That's correct. Yeah. So we've got just under 400 vans on the road today. And by the end of next month, we'll have just over 600.
So you're going to have 600 roaming locations, and you're going to have about 800 fixed locations.
Yep.
Wow, 1,400 locations in 10 years.
Yeah, the 12, more like 12 by the time all that happens. But yeah,
12.
Yeah.
And are you international yet?
We have just under 50 stores in Canada.
50 stores. 50 in Canada.
Yep. Are
you going to go to other countries or no?
TBD. The grass is so green right here in our backyard. We're really focused with the 200 stores in the U.S. and Canada, where we've already got a footprint. We've already got partners. A significant amount of our business, while consumers who walk in the door might not realize it, is servicing partners. Up to 40% of our business can be servicing national accounts and big insurance partners or OEM partners or carrier partners. So we've got a really good kind of base here in the U.S. and Canada to support the business. So we're really focused on growing our footprint here.
What was your degree you went to school for?
Accounting.
Credit
to
debits. We just talked about that. I'm awful at accounting. I am the worst at accounting. That's why I don't know if I've ever written a check for Unicorp. When I started it, I hired a bookkeeper as my receptionist because I thought, what's my biggest weakness? Is accounting. So I wanted to hire someone who could take over my weakness, and which was a great move for me because I'm just bad at that part. And so how did you have the business knowledge to know how to sign a lease, to have an attorney review a lease, to know what term you should get a lease, to know how to hire a sales manager and hire human resources? And did you just kind of learn as you go, or how did you model all that out? Because you took from just fixing phones in a single store to now having to manage hundreds of rent checks you have to pay, and employees, and whatever health benefits you may have, and ordering parts and accounts payable, receivable. I mean, just running an entire business. How did you get from working in your garage to that leap?
It was all trial by fire. I mean, when we started in 2009, the retail industry wasn't in trouble.
It was a big recession, yeah.
I think our first 13 leases were all one-year leases. Like, there was very little risk in it. For us, we weren't asking the landlords to do much in the way of build out. We were able to get, we didn't know, how much legs the business model had under it at the time. So we were signing a lot of very short-term leases to prove the model still at the point without exposing ourselves to a significant amount of risk. And that one, if we started this business in 2015, that wouldn't have been a possibility. There's no way we could have done it. But on the lease front, it was 100% trial by fire. We got better and better at it with every lease we did. Brokers or landlords would say, like, we didn't even have a broker representing us. We would go straight to the listing broker. and the listing broker would make some offer to get us excited, and we go, oh, we can ask for this, TI money. What, we can ask for this next time.
One.
Free rent. What, we can ask for this time. And we literally learned it deal by deal. HR things like I hired almost every friend I had. I'd invite people to dinner, tell them about what we're doing, ask them if they want to quit their job to come work for $10 an hour and say, hey, let's go build this together.
But that's $10 an hour plus they got a portion of the profit for their store.
Yeah. So
you were building a franchise model. Did you even know you were building a franchise model at that time?
No, we were building like an operating partner model, like I think is pretty common in the restaurant space. And, not until years later when we saw kind of the benefit of having local operators, become really evident, did we say like, hey, we're actually, really close to franchising. Let's go all the way with it.
Mm-hmm. And what year was that?
I think that was like 2013, 2014.
So just under midway into where you're at now. And how many of the stores are franchise locations versus corporate locations?
So today there's, I think, about 31 corporate locations. The rest are franchise.
So it's a true franchise business now.
Yeah. We're actively growing the corporate footprint right now. A substantial portion of that 200 will be corporate.
What about the vans?
The vans, you could think of vans as like tied to stores. Like most stores have a van.
Yeah, I think that's just the coolest model. So, I talked to you years ago, and I had a concern that they were going to make the glass so strong on phones that it would harm your business. That eventually they always talk about Gorilla Glass and this glass, and I got to say, just yesterday, my daughter with her iPhone 11 says, "Dad, I cracked my glass." And I said, "How do you crack your glass?" She goes, "Well, we were shooting off fireworks, and one of them was kind of coming toward me, and I dropped it and ran," and which I'm glad she did.
That was an okay sacrifice.
But
then, yeah.
It was worth it. But it's got a little crack in the corner, so the glass keeps breaking. It keeps cracking, and aside from that, it sounds like it'll keep doing that. And you also fix, I think you fix anything that you plug in or something like that, right?
Anything with a power button, yeah. So, I mean, that was for the first 4 or 5 years of our business, that was like primarily just iPhone. Every year the iPhone would come out, we'd all gather around the computer and wait for the unbreakable phone to come out. And obviously it never happened. We've seen a lot of manufacturers, like, there is no perfect material for the screen of a phone. There was a lot of rumors around sapphire back in the day, but it ended up being very fragile, and you saw it never be put on kind of a mainstream phone. Some phones went plastic fronts, but then they scratch real easy, and people replace the screens not because they crack, but because they scratch. Yeah. And then you've got the glass screens that don't scratch as easily, but they break. Like, if there was like
it'd be a diamond, and that's too expensive.
Yeah, so there, not to say we'll never get there, but there isn't a perfect material for the screens right now. So OEMs are making the best of it, and we also see screens broken screens as an important part of the upgrade life cycle for OEMs.
Well, and things will always break, no matter what it is. I remember I was with you the other day on a call, and someone was talking about a Roomba that ran over the dog do and spread it all over the house. And that was when you said, we're not going to fix that one. But everything's going to break. And I wouldn't want that job either. Someone bringing the Roomba in and saying, you got to clean this.
Yeah.
But you guys do anything. If it's a TV, if it's a Roomba, if it's an iPad, if it's a tablet, or you'll fix all of that stuff. And then you sell accessories now, and you've really just, is the business going to grow into more than what it is today, or are you just going to see it kind of replicate?
No, yeah. So we really started with phones. There was a lot of risk around kind of the breaking of screens. We've really diversified away from that consciously over the last 5 or 6 years. We call it repair diversity. So fixing more than just broken screens. That can be, more in-depth repairs on phones, like, motherboard replacements or batteries or charge ports. But that also takes the form of a broader array of consumer electronics. So, think your tablets, laptops, game consoles, etc. And then, we've got the vans going and out into the field for the first time. So what opportunities does that open up? That, they go into people's homes, they get their phones, they fix them. Could it be appliance repair? Could it be TV repair? Could it be
hanging a TV?
Smart home repair? I think for us, there's no short, like, at a 10,000 foot level, technology isn't going away. It's playing more and more of a role in everybody's life. And we really position uBreakiFix as kind of your local technology expert. Like, and primarily that has came in the time of need for repair historically, but I think we look forward to expanding it into not only a repair role, but a consulting role, possibly even a sales role.
So the cool thing, when you think about that is, when you named it, first of all, how do you come up with the name?
A coworker of mine came up with it. I was like looking for domains at work back when I was fixing phones and working, and I was like, I can't think of any cool names. And he's like, uBreakiFix. And I was like, why uBreakiFix? Unavailable, it didn't work. He goes, no, with a U. I was like, it's available. Bought it right then, called David, said it was done, and that was it.
So for $9.99 or $1.99, you got the name. And but it was good that you didn't actually, and you probably unknowingly did this, but you didn't tie it to a cell phone name. Because now when you think uBreakiFix, I break my vacuum cleaner, I broke my computer, I broke my light switch. We have one of those smart homes, and half the time the lights won't turn on. And you unplug the system first and plug it back in and hope that magically does it, and a lot of times it does. But like you just said, you can kind of go anywhere with this now. Coming to the homes with the vans, I just hung a big screen TV, and I sure would have liked to have just called somebody up and have them come over for $99 and hang it and do it all for me. Yeah. So you can really train your people to continue to diversify the business, and that way, if there ever is unbreakable glass, certain parts of phones would break anyhow, but then you have a whole array of businesses. So that's well thought out. And so, how many locations and vans do you think you'll have 5 years from now?
I think we'll have around 1,200 retail locations. Would be my guess here in the U.S. and Canada. And vans, we're really going to have to see what the demand on vans is. We've launched vans. We're doing partner repairs largely in the vans right now. We have not marketed or really pushed the retail side of the vans, so it's still a big unknown. Could the demand for vans dwarf stores, and we could need 3 times as many vans as stores? It's kind of still TBD.
But that's impressive. 1,200 stores you'll have from 5 years from now, which averages from inception 80 stores a year. That's at McDonald's, Burger King. That's great. That's impressive growth. So what advice would you, when I had John Morgan last week, we were talking about, what advice would you give people today? We're dealing with COVID, which is very difficult on a lot of businesses. Probably not as much yours, because if people break their phone, it is, I got to fix it immediately. But, restaurants are struggling. There's just a few tables in retail stores. People aren't shopping. Everybody's afraid of getting the virus. And, there's so much fear in the market until there's a vaccine out, which probably won't happen until the end of the year, January. But what advice would you give people of, I don't know what you're doing in your stores to kind of deal with what you're dealing with today? Not the social distancing, but revenue and, expenses and things like that.
I think, you got to be thankful for what you have and be ready to play the cards you're dealt. Like, there is no, if you sit around waiting for the perfect time or the perfect model or the perfect idea, like, it's never going to come. Just, make the best of the situation you're in, play the cards you're dealt, the best of your abilities, and at some level you have to plan, make good decisions, and trust things to work out. I think, for us, a lot of our success over the past 10 years has been the people. Like, repair has been done by hundreds of different companies in the U.S. and Canada over the years. We've been able to differentiate ourselves solely by the experience in the store, which is primarily enabled by the people in it. And consumers' expectations today in the retail environment, unfortunately, are so low that, like, literally by smiling and doing the right thing for a customer at the front counter, like, hey, I just had to blow dust out of your charge port. There's no charge. Here you go. Like, that surprises people now. Yeah. Right? And, like, those experiences, instead of charging them $200 when you didn't have to, or you didn't really do anything, like, those experiences are the difference maker and have been the difference maker for uBreakiFix. We were acquired by Assurion last year, and the CEO of Assurion went into a store out in San Francisco just about 2 weeks ago, and his daughter's MacBook was acting up. And our technician said, hey, we can fix this MacBook, but it's going to be $600. You're probably better off buying a new one. And he's
one
like,
of your stores.
Yeah. And like, that's how it should be, right? Like, you should be able to come in and get good advice.
Yeah, you want people to be honest with you.
But that's not so often how businesses are ran. Like, they're ran, with a very short-sighted, just, all that matters is our bottom line mentality. And, for us, over the past 10 years, it's been, hey, here's where we're going. Handle every experience, in the store in the best way for all of our stakeholders, our franchisees, our employees, our customers, everybody, so that we're all continuing to march towards this vision rather than getting caught up in, what's happening today, how much money did I put in my pocket today? Because you got to find a balance, because if you're maximizing today, you won't get to tomorrow.
Right.
And if you're not paying attention to what happens today, you won't get to tomorrow, but you got to find that balance.
Well, you're a very humble person, and that starts from the top. I mean, I've seen the people you've surrounded yourself with, and the people who have hung with you, and your philosophy. You're a person of faith. I'm a person of faith. That's one thing I learned in the 2009 recession. Is I was nervous about what was going to happen. I was just afraid. I mean, real estate was having huge problems. And like, you took it to your advantage. Real estate was having hard problems. I would take that guy and lease him a space for a year because I needed someone in there paying me something. And you got to benefit. For us, it was really hard because we were having to get deals away, and we still had mortgage payments that came due and all that. And I'd go home nervous every night because nobody knew where the bottom was. And eventually we hit the bottom, and I remember the first year we broke even again, like a year or two after that, and we started to make money. And I took that into this recession, this recessive period, this time that we're in now, as faith. Is I would go home and I would just say, I don't know where this is going to end. But today, like you said a moment ago, you got to deal with the cards you're dealt and have faith that you believe in yourself and you're going to get through it, and you just don't give up every day. I always talk about, you pick yourself up by the bootstraps and you go into work and you do what it takes. I talked to the CEO of which bank was it? Centennial Bank a couple weeks ago, and Tracy calls me up and he said, Chuck, how you doing? I said, Tracy, I'm good. And this is probably going back a month and a half ago. I keep forgetting how long we're in this COVID thing. And
all blends together.
And he says, are you back in the office yet? I said, I never left the office. I said, I came to work every single day, and I come to work every day. And I said, I sit at my desk and do whatever it takes to make things keep going. And he said, Chuck, he said, I'm a banker. He said, I put on my suit every day. He goes, I'm coming into my office. I'm the only person here. He goes, no one else is working. He goes, but I feel like I'm a banker. That's what I do. And he puts on a suit, which reminds me of, have you heard the story of the scorpion and the frog?
I don't remember.
It's a great story. It ties into the banker I just told you about. There's a scorpion and a frog sitting on the side of a bank. And the scorpion says to the frog, Mr. Frog, will you give me a ride to the other side of the river? And the frog says, well, Mr. Scorpion, if I give you a ride, you'll sting me. And the scorpion says, well, why would I sting you? If I sting you, we'll both die. And the frog thought about it. And he said, okay, hop on my back. And the frog starts swimming across the river, and he's halfway across, and the scorpion stings the frog. And the frog says, Mr. Scorpion, why'd you sting me? Now we're both going to die. And the scorpion said, because I'm a scorpion, and that's what scorpions do. They sting frogs. But that's what you do. I mean, if that's inbred in you to get up every day and to go to work every day, or you're the banker, you get up every day, you can't think that you're just always going to have good times. There are going to be tough times. And that's the difference in the survivors, is you get through the tough times, you strategize in the bad times, you strategize in the good times, and you keep going forward. So one quick outtake, I know we finished, but just we were talking to Hector, who's doing the filming, and he was curious to what's a normal day like, not today or tomorrow, but like, let's just say 5 days before COVID. What would a normal day like be for you? When you wake up, what happens?
So I'm the type that goes in the office every day too. So, before COVID, I never worked a day at home in my life. So usually in the office around 9 a.m., probably about 5 or 6 hours of meetings throughout the day. I try to go to lunch with somebody on the team every day, kind of just break up the monotony of the day. But it's all over the place, franchisee relations, uBreakiFix kind of core growth initiatives, and then, our new parent company, Asurion kind of growth initiatives.
You gotta tell them what's happening. They want to know that.
Yeah, updates on what's going on. They've also got a keen interest on some specific initiatives. So, we've got to plan and do things around that. And obviously there's a lot of synergy between the two businesses that we're anxious to capitalize on. But it's I'm not fixing phones anymore. Although
You're managing.
when I do break my phone, I go to the Dr. Phillips store and fix it myself, which works out most of the time. But it's really about now it's really about making decisions to put other people in a place to succeed. So whether that's somebody at the corporate office, helping them get the resources they need or something like that to succeed, or whether it's about fast tracking initiatives in our software so that techs can focus on the person in front of them and not worry about the point of sale working or something. So really my job now is just making sure others are put in a position to succeed.
Yeah, it's management and growth. And I got to say, even though I've been in Unicorp, 22 years, I learn something new every day. I'm always trying to learn what other people are doing, how to make your product better, how to be better at what you do, how to relate to people better. It's life. It's constant growth. You're doing a good job at it. Keep
Thanks.
it up.
Mm-hmm. 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 Come on. Mm-hmm.